Hey Thumpers, welcome back to another video from San Diego Comic-Con. We are talking about the 20th Century Fox panel, which became a Kingsman panel.
Yeah.
No Deadpool, no X-Men. What's up? Break it down for us, Cameron.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I guess when we were walking over there, it was still just the 20th Century Fox panel. I started to see on Twitter, I guess, by the time I had gotten into Hall H, it had then been changed officially to a Kingsman panel, which is fine. It's a little odd, though, if only because, I don't know, as much as I like the first Kingsman and we did a trailer reaction to the second one, I think there's some anticipation for that second one. I don't know if that's a movie on its own that would have gotten a Hall H presence. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people went in the 20th Century Fox panel thinking, okay, there's definitely going to be some Kingsman, but there's also going to be, we have 2 new X-Men movies out next year.
Yeah, and we have a Deadpool movie.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people were thinking there was going to be some X-Men announcements, some surprises. 20th Century Fox pretty much had Hall H to itself today. Mm-hmm. But none of that happened. It was all Kingsman stuff, which was fine. It was just not what we expected. I think we were all kind of expecting there was going to be something more. But the Kingsman stuff was cool. It was hosted by Jonathan Ross.
Great.
Who's great. He's a comic book fan who's also the husband or partner of the co-screenwriter of the Kingsman films.
Really?
Yeah. Jen Goldman, I believe is her name.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're partners. So Jonathan Ross comes out and he introduces Jane Goldman and Dave Gibbons, which was really cool to see.
That's awesome.
For those who don't know, Dave Gibbons, the artist for the Kingsman graphic novel, but also Watchmen.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest thing. And then he brought out the cast, and everyone was there minus Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore was not there, and neither was Mark Strong.
Oh, interesting.
I would say the cast members. And Matthew Vaughn wasn't there. They said Matthew Vaughn because he was still editing the film.
Right.
But there was so the panel opened up, and actually when the panel started, there was an animated sequence of the main character from Kingsman fighting Archer. Like they had gotten the Archer team to do like a segment. So that was
Eggsy?
Yeah, with Eggsy.
Nice.
So it's super entertaining. The audience really loved that. That's when they brought out the cast. And then we saw the first 10 minutes of the film. They then showed us the first 10 minutes of the movie. And the first 10 minutes were the scene in the trailer where Eggsy is holding onto the door and then does that leap thing.
Oh, in the car.
Oh, the movie, the first 10 minutes, like they showed us the title sequence, everything. Eggsy's walking to his car and suddenly gets a knife pulled on him, and it's this whole car chase is the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Wow.
It was really dynamic. It looked really great. There's a couple, I think, probably unfinished CGI elements, but they got some time to figure that out. But you can definitely tell this has a higher budget than the first film, and the first film was not a cheap movie either. But it was very dynamic. I really enjoyed it. Vaughn shot it in a very kinetic way without it making me feel like shaky cam. I thought it was great. And then after that, there was a moment with the cast where we then had everyone drinking, and I shot some footage, and we're going to put that on the end of this video, so you'll be able to see some of that, where there's bourbon, because the whole thing about the Kingsmen is the Kingsmen are being disbanded, they go to America, and the Americans are the statesmen. And that's where you get Channing Tatum and Jeff Bridges, so they showed us a scene with Channing Tatum's introduction.
Oh, cool.
So Channing Tatum doesn't trust these guys, and they're dealing with, there's like this bourbon, whereas like for the Kingsmen, you have to enter in through the suit shop. For the statesman, you have to enter in through like a bourbon.
Oh, really?
Kind of play, like a bourbon distillery kind of a thing. So then they brought out a bottle of bourbon, and Jonathan Ross is like, well, over in England and home, it's nighttime. So they were all filling up glasses. And then Channing Tatum grabs Halle Berry's pint and fills it up. And then there was another question and went around, and then they were going, chug, chug. And she drank, again, I have footage of this, so it'll be on the end of this. She drank the entire thing, which was great. And then the panel wrapped up with a scene of Julianne Moore's introduction. And we actually get to know a little bit more about her through this, because in the trailers, we kind of just see her mentioning the Golden Circle. And they didn't show the trailer again, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, because they dropped the trailer this morning at like 6 a.m.
They dropped the trailer this morning, and we talked about it on a reaction video, like, oh, well, they're just going to show it again. And they didn't. So credit to them that if you wanted to watch the trailer, you had to go back or put it up on your phone. So then they showed us a scene with Julianne Moore. It's her introduction scene. It was actually a fairly brutal scene. So what you find out is Julianne Moore lives in the jungles of, I think, South America. And she's like heading this drug ring, but she's also into 50s American kitsch. So you're going through the shot where you're going through the jungles, and then once you get into the jungle, you're suddenly seeing like a donut shop and a diner and all these other things. And Julianne Moore's got this little accent, and she kills a guy by putting him in a meat grinder.
Oh boy!
And they shot it really well. Like it's more, it's not necessarily implied, but it's not violent. Like you see a guy go into the grinder, the camera pans down, then you see like hamburger meat coming out of the grinder.
Oh Lord!
And the audience you just heard
rough.
the whole audience go, oh, and then she made someone eat that hamburger.
Oh my God!
Later on, so it was very cool, visceral, felt very Tales from the Crypty, in a way. But she looks like she's going to be awesome. She's kind of chewing the scenery in the good way. So really, that was a lot of fun. And then the panel ended with Eggsy, the actor who plays Eggsy, wearing like this orange jacket. There was a lot of orange in the audience. And then they're giving that away, I guess, tonight at the Hard Rock. There's a Kingsman thing happening in the Hard Rock. So
right.
Only an hour. And I kind of figured out, I think the audience figured out this was going to be a Kingsman only thing. Probably once it was like the first 10 minutes of the video was shown, and then they start doing not Q&A with an audience, just Jonathan Ross asking questions, and people were like,
gotcha.
I think people were like, there's not enough time for any Deadpool stuff.
Right.
But I don't think anyone was disappointed. It was a lot of fun. It was a good panel, and it got me very excited for the film. So yeah, overall a very good time. And Dave Gibbons at the end of it, Jonathan Ross asked him, did he see Eggsy as the actor? And Dave Gibbons was like, well, no, originally when we did the book, of course not, but I'm going to draw that now, and we're going to give that away at the end of the panel.
Oh, cool.
So I got footage of that. So, yeah, overall, an enjoyable panel. Wasn't what we thought it was going to be. A little disappointed because of that. But the panel itself, what was featured, who was in it, good times.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, especially because Fox decided to have their panel not on Saturday when all the other big studios are having their panels.
Yes.
Warner Brothers, Marvel Studios, Netflix is doing stuff for Stranger Things. I think that was really the big surprising thing was we thought we were going to come in here on Thursday and talk about how they dropped the teaser trailer for Deadpool 2, drop some concept art, or maybe
Josh Brolin here.
Right, exactly. Drop some concept art, or maybe some like early behind the scenes snippets of New Mutants or X-Men Dark Phoenix, and they didn't. And thinking because it was being on Thursday, I thought, great. 20th Century Fox is really going to jump ahead. They have the day. There's really nothing big coming out. There is a Legion panel later, which is part of the X-Men universe, and then we have Inhumans. So I thought, okay, cool. This is their moment to really focus on that thing and get people talking about it for like a day or two.
Yep.
Because the Hall H stuff tomorrow, it's really TV oriented, and Ballroom 20 stuff, there's a lot of TV stuff. So little disappointed, and I mean it's great that the Kingsman panel was that good, and I'm sure the footage is great because the teaser trailer or the second trailer that we did a video for, that trailer is really fun, really entertaining, had really good energy, and I think that cast generally has a good energy. Jeff Bridges, Channing Tatum, Taron Egerton. So I'm sure all that stuff was really, really cool. I didn't get to be in there, so it was cool you got to see the first 10 minutes, but I think a lot of people are going to walk away thinking
it was disappointment.
Why didn't you guys bring a little something for Deadpool? Because I think that was such a highlight.
Or that bring out the New Mutants cast.
Exactly. Yeah. So overall, I think in terms of the superhero stuff, it's a bummer. But I think in terms of Kingsman, I think that they got the push that the movie not necessarily needed, but I think for general audiences who may not be as familiar with the first movie, I think this was a good opportunity to kind of get a lot of people who were going in there expecting to see Deadpool and X-Men to at least walk out being like, okay, cool. At least Fox brought a really fun, cool panel and a cast that was very enthusiastic.
Yeah, and the cast was a lot of fun. Jeff Bridges was great. Colin Firth was great. But yeah, the highlights were really Channing Tatum and Halle Berry.
Yeah. So overall, I think it sounds like it was still a really good time.
Yes.
I'm excited to see Kingsman. It looks like a really, really fun, really cool, entertaining action movie. And it's cool to see the Eggsy character kind of evolve, and now he's a full-on Kingsman and bring in Statesman. Like, that's super interesting to me, that concept that there's based on, different countries have different sort of things. So interested to see how Jeff Bridges and Channing Tatum play into this movie.
I know. I think it's going to be fun. So guys, let me know what you think. If you got to read any about the panel, or are you disappointed there was no Deadpool news or New Mutants news or anything like that. But also, again, stick around. We're going to have some footage. You're definitely going to want to see Halle Berry really chug down some bourbon. It's some good stuff.
Also, make sure you guys subscribe right here on YouTube, Hyper RPG. We're going to bring more coverage from Hall H, Ballroom 20, and a whole bunch more trailer reactions.
Later.
Shut up.